Our guest now, 3-3 on the season with a 3.77 ERA, 59.2 innings, allowed 64 hits and 25 earned runs in those 59 and two-thirds innings. There is a statistic that a lot of people ascribe to now called a quality start for a pitcher. And of the 9 starts our guest Chris Welsh has made, I would be willing to bet that 7, maybe 8 of those starts are quality starts. That is 6 innings of pitching, 3 runs or less allowed. And I'm kind of surprised that Chris Welsh is here. I have a feeling Chris Welsh is kind of surprised Chris Welsh is here. Everyone seems to be happy. Welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
We didn't have a chance to talk to you down at Tampa. Am I right? Are you surprised to be here?
Well, you asked me on the program, so you shouldn't be surprised.
No. I don't mean on the program. No, I mean pitching for the Cincinnati Reds in the starting rotation. Let's do it this way. 12 months ago, what were you doing at All-Star break 1985?
I was pondering my situation in Texas as a Texas Ranger, wondering where exactly I fit into their scheme of things. And little did I think that I'd be in Cincinnati, my hometown, pitching for the guys who I rooted for while I grew up here. I am enjoying it, and I am surprised, although I've gotten beyond the point of being surprised. Nonetheless, the novelty of being part of the Reds hasn't worn off,
Good,
and I'm
good.
thrilled every day.
Good. How close to you, Chris? How close were you, honestly, to maybe going to sell cars or teach school last year about this time?
Well, at last year at this time I was in the major leagues. I was in the American League, and I had a pretty good season going. I was used in different ways in Texas. I was used as a long reliever and as a spot starter, and sometimes I'd warm up in the second inning of a game and not get in the game until it was in extra innings. So those are tough situations to pitch in. I thought I was a high-quality major league pitcher and that I would pitch for many more years. I didn't think that I would be released by the Texas Rangers. So I was...
Did they ever, Chris, I hate to interrupt, did they ever give you an explanation as to why?
Well, I talked to Bobby Valentine at the very end of the season, and he was the manager there last year. And I asked him how to look for me for 1986, and he said, I really don't know. And it's probably my fault more than anybody's, Chris, because I haven't pitched you enough to find out whether you can help us or not. I didn't pitch you enough as a starter, and I didn't pitch you enough as a reliever. So the blame is on me. Of course, 2 months later, when I got the release notice in the mail, that didn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I've got an opportunity with the Reds, and I owe a lot of that to Pete Rose because he's the one who kind of stuck his neck out and gave me a chance in spring training, and I tried to make the best of it.
Boy, you sure did. I don't think the Cincinnati Reds have seen a pitcher who pitched like you did in spring. I mean, I don't care how far back you want to go. Nobody did what you did. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you walk anybody? Maybe one guy?
No, I didn't.
You didn't walk anybody?
No.
What'd you allow? 1 earned run in I don't know how many innings pitched.
13 or 14, 15 innings, something like that. The first 2 fellows that I faced this spring hit doubles. And from then on, they didn't get any runs. But, of course, to compile a spring like that, you have to pitch well, but you also have to have a lot of good breaks. And I did get some good breaks, and I had some tremendous fielding behind me, and there were some line drives hit that with men on base that were right at people. So, I don't think anybody can pitch to an ERA like that for an extended period of time. It just so happened that things went my way this spring, but I also didn't get myself in trouble with walks and pitching behind an account.
Yeah, you still haven't either. For the majority of what you pitched so far this year, Chris, that has 15 walks in 59 and two-thirds innings. That's impressive. That's very impressive. Historically, has that been the way you pitched? You don't walk people?
Well, I wish it were. If I had been historically as consistent with my base on balls as I am this year, I probably wouldn't have traveled around as much as I have. I've had the reputation of being a wild left-hander, and it's not until recently that I've been able to get the ball down in the strike zone exactly where I wanted it to be on a consistent basis.
Why? What's the difference?
Well, I think that I finally come to the understanding that it's not how hard you throw, it's where you throw it. And if you've got good movement on the ball, you can throw it low and throw it 80 miles an hour and still have good success. And when I was growing up in college and in the minor leagues, you look up in the stands and you see the scouts up there with the radar guns, and the first guys who would get written up in the newspaper reports are the guys who throw 90. Like you saw the All-Star game last night.
Yep.
The two guys who started had pitches over 95 miles an hour. That was incredible to me. But I have a different way of getting the hitters out, and I have to accept that and do exactly what I can do. Try not to do too much, and if you stay within yourself, it's a lot more fun. The strategy of the game becomes clearer, and you also risk less injury that way.
Mm-hmm. How long, though, did it take you to really realize, wait a minute, I'm never going to beat Tom Seaver. Why try to throw it like Tom Seaver?
Well, I realized it probably when I was 25, which was my first year in the major leagues. I was a product of the New York Yankee organization, and I was very lucky that they had so many good instructors along the line. They're a lot like the Reds, and they're a lot like the Dodgers and the Phillies, who have very good minor leagues. And I had good instructors at every level. I had the opportunity to work with guys like Whitey Ford and Sammy Ellis along the way. And Sammy Ellis pulled me aside and said, "Listen, you're never going to be a Steve Carlton. Why don't you just turn the ball over like Tommy John?" He was in big league camp with me. And try to do what he does. He's got a $150,000 house, and there's no reason why you can't too. And I began to do that.
Did you have to swallow your ego, though?
No, every time I tried to throw the ball by him belt high, it got socked over the fence or it hurt an infielder. So my infielders are coming to me and saying, "Listen, you better do something different." But it's a change of style, but it's also a change of thinking, and it takes a couple years to get that down. And I probably would have been more successful earlier in my career had I accepted that I couldn't throw hard, and there's certain nights where my arm did feel good. I would go out there and try to throw hard,
mm-hmm.
even though that I knew my forte was a sinker ball and good control. And now I'm determined to stay within myself and do the things that I do best.
And in your estimation, the movement throughout the minor leagues and up and down with San Diego, up and down with Texas, up and down with the Reds, has been primarily because of a lack of control.
Yes, I think if I had the pinpoint control that I need to have to be very successful, if I'd had that in San Diego consistently, if I'd had it in Montreal when I was there, if I had had it in Texas last year, I wouldn't have gotten so, because I give up a hit an inning at least, sometimes more than a hit an inning if you look at my statistics over the years. But that's not so bad if you don't put anybody on base by walks. And if you're going to give up hits, that's no problem. If you're going to give up a home run, no problem, as long as there's nobody on base. But it's the 3-run home runs that kill you, and it's the bases loaded triples that kill you. And I've tried to stay away from that. And I think that there's also quirks in your delivery that can make you wild. And I had some quirks when I was in San Diego and in Montreal. Unfortunately, when I was in those places, my delivery wasn't sound. And I've worked hard on getting a good, solid delivery, make sure my arm is up and ready to go, take some of the force off my elbow and shoulder, and it helps you throw strikes when you're sound.
Who'd you go to to smooth out your delivery? I mean, who's your coach when it comes to that, Chris?
Well, there's a couple of guys. First off, my father knows a little bit about pitching, and he's picked up some things this year already that have helped me. And there's two guys in Florida that I go to quite often during the winter. One is Robin Roberts, and the other is
Not a bad choice.
Well, not too bad. And the other is Sammy Ellis, and he was a former Red. And Sammy was my pitching coach with the Yankees, and Robin Roberts was my college baseball coach my senior year. And both of these guys, of course, they know a lot about the pitching motion and delivery, and they've had considerable. They offer me a lot of help during the wintertime, smoothing things out, getting me ready for spring training, and trying to get my thinking process right.
Well, Chris, there's no doubt that whatever you did in preparation for this particular spring, this last spring, do it again. Keep doing it. Wouldn't you say? Whatever the routine was, I hope you wrote it down. Eat the same things, go to the same movies, get up at the same time, because you're going to be around for a long time at a place where I think that you want to pitch. You must feel very comfortable. Am I right? You've made 9 starts. Of those 9 starts, judging the quality start that someone came up with a stat, how many? I think it's 6 or 7 quality starts that you've had so far this year.
I read it in a stat sheet not too long ago, and it was 7. And of course, everybody's trying for 100% that way. I wish it were 9 quality starts, and it would probably mean a couple extra wins for the Reds had I not faltered a couple times. But if you can go out and give give a good effort every time. And in my particular case, if I keep the team in the game, the way we're playing now, I think that we're going to be able to score some runs for Chris Welsh and put a lot of W's up there before the season's out.
The other thing is, 5 years ago, I don't think you make this staff, because 5 years ago this was a power pitching staff. I mean, they had big guys with big arms, and they wanted to throw it by them. But now with Browning and Denny and Gullickson and you, Mario is really the only power pitcher out there. I mean, turn it loose, bell tie, exploding fastball, nobody touches. We don't have anymore. And in Bruce Brenny, they tried to make one. Pastore was like that. Seaver was like that. Soto was like that. Now you fit into this pitching staff perfectly.
Well, I think everybody complements themselves and each other in this pitching staff. We don't all have the same style. Tom Browning is not exactly a cunny thumber, so to say. I'm more or less.
Beg your pardon. What is that? Lob it up there.
A slop pitcher.
Okay.
I would say that I'm more or less a sinker ball off-speed pitcher than Tom Browning is. Here's a guy who goes out and strikes out 6 or 7 in a ball game. He throws waist-high fastballs by hitters, and because he's so sneaky fast. For me to follow him in the rotation is ideal, because I'm left-handed, so it gives these right-handed hitters or platoon hitters a second day in a row to see them. But I'm a completely different style of pitcher, so we still have some hard throwers on this club.
Oh yeah.
Gullickson's a hard thrower, and John Denny can get it up there from now.
But now wait a minute, time out. They are primarily location pitchers. They are primarily ground ball pitchers, pop-up pitchers, get the double play pitchers. I think this staff used to be strike them out or catch the ball on the warning track type of pitching staff. I'm not arguing the point with you, and you're on the pitching staff, but I mean, all 7 guys behind the pitcher are now used a great deal more than I think they used to be.
Yeah, well, I think that was the way the offense was designed
here
with the Reds too. I think they threw hard and they hit hard. And nowadays, we scrap for runs a little more than the Big Red Machine did, and the pitchers are probably a different style. I think you're right.
Yeah. This has to be a dream come true to finally land on your feet in your hometown. Has got to be a dream that's just too good to even think about, right?
It is a dream come true. Fortunately, I feel very I feel very fortunate, first of all, that I get the opportunity to play here. But I also feel very comfortable. There were some times early on in spring training I would ponder on the situation of me pitching in Riverfront Stadium in front of my family and friends, and I wonder how I would really handle it, because I've bounced around a little bit and I've wanted to play big league ball, and here I am. This may be my last shot, and I better make good on it. And not only that, it's in my hometown, but I've come out of it mentally feeling really great and comfortable, and the fans here are better than I even remember them when I used to go down the games myself.
Chris, there's no doubt in anybody's mind who's played professional athletics that it's a career of peaks and valleys. The peak was spring. The valley had to be, we're going to send you back to Denver, but you'll be the first one called back. I mean, you had to, at some point, you are married, you do have a family, you got your dad to call. At some point, you got to sit down and think, wait a minute. What haven't I done? Why is this happening to me again? I mean, that's got to be a valley for you.
It's happened. Has happened 3 times. I've been the last pitcher cut off a major league team 3 times in a row, and it got to be very depressing. I've had good springs in the past, and it happened again this spring. Why it keeps happening, I don't know. One reason, perhaps, is that I'm not the hard thrower, and some people, when they look at Chris Welsh, and he has had some very good minor league seasons. I've outpitched many prospects that have gone ahead of me to the major leagues, but these guys are younger and they throw harder, and they're products of the organization. And Chris Welsh isn't. He's the guy we got by a trade or free agency, or we bought his contract, and we really don't owe him anything. And let's take this other guy instead. So it's just one of those things, and I was bound and determined, now that I have my foot in the door with the Reds, to give it every shot I could.
Yeah, would you agree that unfortunately in baseball there seems to be more pigeonholing by scouting reports than probably any other sport? And what you just stated was a certain amount of pigeonholing. I mean, when Dwight Gooden pitched in the minor leagues, when he struck out a batter, everybody go, ooh. But at the end of the game when Chris Welsh pitched, you look at the stats and you don't go ooh and ah, but there's a W. There's job done well, and that may be the case.
That is the case. I know in one particular instance, I was pitching in 1984 in Indianapolis and had a very good season that year. As a matter of fact, I was 9-0 at one point, and the Expos didn't recall me, and there were some other clubs who were interested in me, and they sent general managers by to see me, and their head cross-checking scouts to see me, and the report that I got back through my agent or through the manager of the Indians at that time was that he gets these minor leaguers out, but they never swing at that stuff in the major leagues. He doesn't throw in as many strikes. They'll stay off that pitch, or he's doing it with mirrors or something like that. And I knew that if I could get my chance and get the ball on a consistent basis, like I've had the opportunity given me here, I could do well.
I would imagine too that every time that you got one of those scouting reports that said that they won't swing at that pitch, then there's that tendency again to try to muscle it up there and say, well, I'll show them what they want. And then all of a sudden the ERA climbs again, and now you're back in the same hole. I mean, that's when you're on your own and down there trying to impress people that may or may not know something about baseball.
Well, it is kind of a catch-22 situation.
Yes, it is.
Fortunately, things have worked out, and I'm not one to look back. I really want to look forward.
Yeah. You said you were originally drafted by the New York Yankees, went to Oneonta?
Oneonta, New York.
Oneonta,
Beautiful town.
New York.
Our manager the first day we convened in Oneonta said that we're only 35 miles from Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame, but it's the longest 35 miles on Earth.
Interesting approach. We're going to continue our conversation here with Chris Welsh, who was enjoying the All-Star break. I understand went here and went there with the family, and now ready to get back to baseball. We'll take your phone calls, continue our conversation after this. 7:27 tonight with you until 9 o'clock. Then Bill Cunningham in, and Chris Welsh presently is our guest. One of the important things for any pitching staff, I would think, is a certain amount of chemistry to fit in. This pitching staff seems to, it's been a while, but there are some new faces on that pitching staff. It looks like you guys get along pretty well, have fun together, and help each other pretty good.
This team has probably the best chemistry of any team I've been with. Guys get along. We've got a good blend of youth and some veterans. We've got guys who've been around, maybe in both leagues, and played around a little bit, and everybody, that we get on each other, but always in a good sense, and there's always a smile behind an insult, and it keeps the team loose.
Sure.
And it's important. I think chemistry is worth, a good 15 wins a year, and,
I agree.
and we've got it.
I agree. Obviously, Chris, you hope that this is the last stop on your major league career, correct?
Absolutely.
You've moved around enough to accommodate an awful lot of people in professional baseball. One thing you have going in your favor is that you've now shown the manager and the people in the front office just exactly if what you term as an 80-mile-an-hour fastball can do. How do you keep it going? I mean, a lot of guys come up here and they kind of come and then fade away and show up and fade away and show up and fade away. I don't know what makes it a career ender for a pitcher and a career extender for a pitcher. Have you found the magic formula?
Well, I obviously not yet, but I hope I'm on the right recipe. I think that one of the things you have to overcome is the fear of success. You have to get to a point where you don't fear being successful anymore. It's a lot easier going out there and being good one time than being bad again, and then it forces you to get your guts going and really do good the next time out. But to do good every time out is something that you have to overcome mentally. And a lot of people talk about it, and it's very few that can go out there and do it time and time again. And those are the ones who are the premiers, the superstars, and those are the guys who are emulated by the rest of the athletes.
Yeah.
And those are one of the ones who I like to be.
Yeah, sure. I don't imagine there's going to be many Roger Clemens around in a given season, start out the way he has. That's an awful lot of good pitching in one half of a baseball season. And until your last pitching outing in Montreal, I mean, you were rolling. What happened in Montreal? What was the difference?
Well, I don't think it was in Montreal. It was a matter of me pitching poorly. In fact, I looked at the tape. My wife was good enough to tape that game for me. Although
Lucky you, right?
Yeah. But I looked at it yesterday and a little bit today, and almost every hit they got, I'm a ground ball pitcher, and almost every hit that they got was a ground ball. And when you live by the ground ball, you also die by it. And Montreal's turf is very hard. It's very hard in front of home plate, and the ball got through the infield very quickly. And you compile that with a couple of walks, which were at inopportune times. I had 2 outs and walked the 8th and 9th hitter, and you walk the pitcher, and that's a mortal sin. And then a guy follows it with a base hit, and then you give up a triple that's 6 inches foul. And
how do you?
So it's pretty hard to keep your composure after that. And had that call gone the other way, and I retired Vance Law, they've only scored 1 run that inning, and it's a 3-2 game instead of a 7-3 game.
Yeah, and Chris, I think it is pretty obvious that at every point in every game for every pitcher, there is a crucial situation, that hump you got to get over. And if you get over that hump, clear sailing, chances are for the rest of the ball game. You didn't get over that hump, not because you didn't try, because Ripley's Believe It or Not made another Believe It or Not. I mean, I would think every pitcher reaches that stumbling block in every single performance.
Absolutely, and for most starting pitchers, I think that point is early in the game. If you can get a guy into his groove and get his rhythm going after the first couple innings, the old adage is, you better get to this guy early, because once you reach the middle innings, he's going to really start mowing you away. But I think that's true for most every starting pitcher, and it is for me. That particular inning in Montreal took place in the 4th, and it was I kind of came unglued when I walked 2 guys in a row, which is very uncharacteristic for me. I may have been doing something wrong mechanically. I may have been trying too hard, because I played with Montreal and I played for Buck Rogers in Indianapolis, and it was a time when I really wanted to stock it to him. And I may have been doing a little more than I could.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you get in trouble.
Yeah, I would think that there's an old sign that you see, the faster I go, the behinder I get. I would think that that happens to a lot of pitchers, that the more fine you want to be, the more difficult it is to just throw a strike as opposed to hit the black or fool somebody. Having never done that, I don't know what it would be like, but it doesn't sound easy.
Well, it's more important for me to throw good strikes instead of just strikes. A guy like Roger Clemens, he's got good control, and a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He can make some mistakes down the middle, and his velocity will overcome that mistake. But when you throw 80 miles an hour and you get the ball up a little bit, that's pretty good hitting speed.
Yeah.
And so it's more important for a guy like me to keep the ball down and make sure you've got good movement. And when I'm trying too hard, it's not necessarily my control that'll go, but it's the movement on the ball, because you've got your muscles are tight, because you're a little bit tight, and you don't have that free, easy whipping motion, and the ball doesn't come out of your hand right, and it's straight as a string.
Absolutely.
And it looks like 5:30 when everybody takes batting practice.
Yeah, not quite that bad, but I mean, it's just like bowling, it's just like playing golf, it's just like anything that we all do as a hobby. On the practice tee, it's very easy. Before you put that ball in front of you, it's very easy. Suddenly you muscle up there and shank it here, shank it there, pull hook it, snap hook it, duck hook it, whatever you want to call it. And I was, wait a minute, I'm so nice and smooth before I get there. It's not quite that easy.
Yeah. It's like the guy who plays his best round of golf by himself.
Oh, sure, always, always. In the All-Star game the other night, last night, I kind of likened the way you throw to Sid Fernandez of the New York Mets, kind of out here a little bit. Does he throw it faster, harder than you do?
Much faster.
Faster?
Yeah, Sid has got a very good fastball. He has a little unorthodox motion, and I can see how we could compare us, but he's got a very good fastball, and it really explodes on you, and his deception is that he throws it faster than he looks. And my deception, I think, is that I throw it slower than I look. So, to each his own, I suppose.
Whatever gets it done, that's what you're interested in.
That's right.
Yeah. Chris Welsh is our guest, and I promise you now we will take your phone calls. He'll be here until 8 during the All-Star break here as the Reds begin the second half against Philadelphia tomorrow night. We'll have it for you. And 749-3420, the number to call to join us on Sports Talk to speak with Chris Welsh.
Lines are now open for 700 WLW Sports Talk. If you're calling from outside Ohio, dial 1-800-543-0471. From Ohio, dial 1-800-582-1701. And from the greater Cincinnati area, dial 749-3420. Once again, here's 700 WLW's Bob Trumpy.
Thank you very much. Our guest is Chris Welsh, who is 3-3 for the Cincinnati Reds through the first half of the season, 3.77 ERA. Started 9 games and had 7 quality starts. That's 6 innings of pitching, with 3 runs or less. 59 innings pitched, 64 hits, 25 earned runs. Given up 3 home runs in the 59 innings. Walked just 15 batters, struck out 17. All the rest of that stuff. There also is a stat here which I have a hard time believing, but Chris Welsh also has a Major League home run. I don't mean to be shocked or totally surprised, but did it surprise you?
Well, I swing hard just in case I hit it, and I just happened to hit that one.
Good practice.
You never know when
Sure.
the pitcher's going to hit your bat, and that's more or less what happened, I think, in that situation.
Oh, well, 4 RBIs, you'll take him any way you can get him, right?
I can get some RBIs, but it's usually with a punch single or a bloop hit or a broken bat, and I try to pride myself with being able to drive runs in, and or at least being able to get runners over in the scoring position when I'm called on to bunt.
Sure, keeps you on the mound, doesn't it?
It does keep you on the mound, and it also, if you can do that, it keeps you on the mound and it keeps you in contention for a win.
Yeah, true. Chris Welsh, our guest. Let's go to the phone, 749-3420. We can keep him till 8, and then you and I will talk for an hour or so, then Bill Cunningham in. Where do I go, Douglas? I didn't hear what you said. Okay, Jim, you're first tonight with Chris Welsh. Good evening, and welcome.
Hi, Chris. This is Jim, longtime friend of yours. I don't know if you recognize the voice, but Sarah and I want to really congratulate you just on a fantastic year with the Reds, starting with the beginning of spring training until now.
Jim, thanks a lot. I do recognize your voice, and Jim's a guy who sent me numerous telegrams throughout the league when I've been with different ball clubs, and he and I grew up together, and I want to thank you for calling up tonight, Jim.
Oh, this is the guy you got to get all the tickets for all the time, right?
Yeah, he's been real good in that respect, too.
I'll give you a call, and we'll get you down tomorrow night.
Yeah, Jim, I'm sure you have the ever-present story of Chris Welsh as a kid I grew up with, but he couldn't get me out when we played Little League Baseball, right?
I like to tell people as a catcher, I really knew how to manage him. And he had another close friend that caught for him, too, but and we both take credit for it.
Sure. Chris has nothing to do with it. It's all you guys, right?
Right.
He always put down the right number
Chris,
of fingers.
I got to tell you, I haven't had a chance to get in touch with you. You've been a busy man. And but when Tim and I and Sarah were down at the ballpark June 1st with your first outing with the Reds, I was down there talking to your dad, and I was so excited because I've never seen the old coach like that, because he was just giggling like he was 10 years old.
Well, he was really beaming, and he's like that every time you come down.
I would imagine, though. I mean, to have an offspring pitch in the major leagues in your hometown, it would be very difficult to contain oneself. Old coach is your dad. Where did he sit?
He sat. The family seats are behind the backstop in the blue level, and he sat down there and had a Reds cap. And my father has a tendency to, he charts the games, and he wants to know. He's a real student of the game, and I admire him for that, because he's helped me quite a bit in my career with a lot of the fine points of baseball. And he charts the game, and he'll want to quiz me after the game, exactly what pitch was this and what pitch was that.
And why you threw it.
And why I threw it, and you should have kept that ball down to Bob Horner, and that kind of stuff.
That's always a good idea, though.
Yeah,
Keep the ball down to Bob Horner. Jim, anything else?
Yeah, I got to tell you, all your longtime fans were really dying with you at the end of spring training. Chris, I've been a long-time big Pete Rose fan, but I really had my doubts at the end of spring training, because all through spring training, Pete kept talking about coming north with the 24 best players, and I figured, and everyone else did, that you had a lock on it. I know Trump even made several comments along those lines, and we were all dying with you. But besides that, I know you touched on that before. I want you to take Trump to task. He's kind of making light of this home run you hit. I don't think he's very familiar with your career, that as long as you're getting your at-bats, you're a good contact hitter, and I'm sure you're glad to be back in the National League and getting your swings.
Thank you, Jim. You said it all right there.
By the way, Chris, you were out of town at the time, but Trump's comments following, he made a lot of good comments about your pitching, but he told the fans, well, forget about that home run. It's a fluke. Don't
corked bat.
he said that it must have been, I think he said, a Japanese cork bat.
Yes, or aluminum painted wood.
Right. But No, it's enjoyable to see you get up there and swing away because I know you can hit it too. But I'll let you go. I just really wanted to congratulate you and tell you that I'm looking forward to seeing your baseball card next year. I'll have 100 of them, I'm sure, in a Reds uniform. And say hi to Debbie and Carrie for us. And we're looking forward to seeing you in the near future.
Very good. Thanks a lot, Jim.
Thanks,
Sure,
Jim, for your
Right.
phone call. By the way, that baseball card will most assuredly be without mustache. The two I have in front of me here, the Rangers and the Padres, with mustache. Maybe that's the secret. No mustache?
Perhaps. I know that I look younger without a mustache, and I like to think that I feel younger, too. So maybe instead of just 5 years or so I've got left in the Major Leagues, we can really prolong it.
Absolutely.
I don't think that...
Hey, listen, you never can tell.
Yeah,
Hope for the best.
whatever it takes.
Yeah. 749-3420 to join us on Sports Talk with Chris Welsh. And Bob, it's your turn. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I was just thinking when you said mustache, I'm sure that he probably forgot that he isn't wearing it anymore, and he's probably picked up a couple miles an hour on his fastball. So he's probably throwing about 82 or 83 now.
Oh, I'm sure that's the case.
That's overpowering, isn't it?
Yes.
I happen to be a avid Reds fan, and I catch a lot of hell here in Columbus about when they were in the cellar, and I said wait till the end of the season. But obviously we're doing better now, or you're doing better. And Chris, I'd like to say that, you know, it's a pleasure being a fan and also having confidence in a pitcher. You know, you're one that I personally feel that when you go out, I really feel like that, you know, you're going to go your 6-7 innings. And my dad always told me when I was a kid that a pitcher that holds an opposing team to 3 runs or less is basically entitled to win. So basically you should be at least 6-0 right now.
Well, thank you. It's important to feel like I can go out and hold the opposition to just a few runs, and I think that's also the confidence that your teammates feel about you is also very important, because when I go out there, I feel like the team knows that they have a very good chance of winning that night, and that builds the confidence in me even more.
Now, the other thing, too, Chris, you keep the 7 people behind you involved in the ball game. I mean, you're going to get a lot of ground balls, so there's going to be some activity out there.
I keep especially the third baseman and the shortstop. They're really on their toes. If they're not there, they have a good chance of getting hurt. But I do keep them in the game because I throw a lot of strikes and I don't strike many people out. So you know, everybody has an opportunity for a put out somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I think also it's fair to categorize you as a quick pitcher. I mean, you don't hurry, but you don't waste a lot of time between pitches either.
I try not to, except when there's a speedy runner on first base, and I try to pride myself in keeping these guys close and keeping them from running, and if it means throwing over a few extra times, then so be it. We'll delay the game a little bit, but I try to keep them close, and when there's nobody on, of course, you can really roll through a game very quickly.
Yeah, I'd say your move to first base is certainly above average. We're talking a good move to first base here.
Well, I'm not sure whether it's a good move because I throw a lot of different moves at him over there because I know that I don't have a very real deceptive move. The thing with a left-handed pitcher is that most good base runners are going to go on their first move. They'll pick something up in the first couple movements of a pitcher and they'll decide to go. A guy like Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and Juan Samuel and these guys and Eric Davis, these guys who are extremely fast. If a left-handed pitcher picks his leg up, throws it over to first base and picks him off, it still takes a great play by the first baseman to get the ball to second base in time to catch him. So I've given up a lot of stolen bases that way just by not getting the ball to Pete fast enough. And he reminds me every time we face a new team that has a couple speedy runners, listen, when you come over to first base, don't hesitate and don't throw me any change-ups because I need to get the ball down to second quick, and it's important to do that.
Yeah, I've never asked a major league pitcher this, but what if you're standing there and Butera or Diaz puts down 3, a flutter pitch, an off-speed pitch, a change-up? Do you throw the okay change-up? Do you hold
No,
it
I
down?
don't. No, I throw more of a split-finger change-up.
Do you obviously have to change your finger grip on the ball before you throw it over to first base?
No, usually I know when I'm going to throw over to first base.
Before you even get the signal?
Before, I'll just have a feeling. And my theory about it is that if you think you've thrown over to first base enough, just throw one more time. Because that way you can cover yourself. And I picked a lot of guys off by doing that. And you know, you give them different moves, and if you combine that with a pitch out now and then, you know, you can keep the guys close. And both the catchers on our team, Sal Butera and Bo Diaz, you know, these guys are good, accurate arms, and it's a pleasure to know that if you make a mistake and let the guy get a pretty good jump, there's a good chance he's still going to be thrown out.
Yeah, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask another thing. On Chris's delivery, Chris, this is obviously directed at you. You have an unusual delivery from the standpoint that, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but you kind of hesitate with your forearm in the back, and I wondered if that had anything to do, with your elbow, or do you have any fears of it hurting your elbow in the future? I know it's your normal delivery, but it's, I don't know how to say it exactly, but it is an unusual delivery, and do you think it will affect your elbow?
Well,
You can't just change it overnight.
Bob, it even looks unusual to me when I see it on film, but it doesn't feel unusual when I do it. I have, aside from being in high school and having some growing elbow pains, I've never had any elbow problems or shoulder problems. And in fact, I think the only pitcher on the Reds that doesn't ice his arm after a ball game, because my arm does feel good. But it's an unusual delivery. How I got that way, I don't know. I've improved it quite a bit.
Did you start out here?
Well, I was much more conventional to begin with, and along the line, probably in trying to make the ball sink a little bit more and more, I've come a little bit more straight-armed. And when I was my last year in San Diego, when I got up to Montreal, my delivery was very poor. It almost looked like a windmill motion, and it was very stiff, and I was really on the wrong track mechanically. And I've gotten away from that, and I've smoothed my thing out a little bit. In fact, I was so bad in Chicago one day that Harry Carey said that I looked like I had an ironing board strapped to my back. So I was determined after that to smooth my delivery out just a little bit.
Chris, have you ever had any problem with hitters picking up your grip of the baseball, because your hand seems to stop back here, and it's way out there where I think the hitters can see it. Has anyone ever mentioned to you that they can see the grip?
No, I've asked my own teammates after I pitch against them in spring training, or a catcher maybe when he's catching me in the bullpen. I think you'd really probably take the $6 million man to see that clearly that far away, because your arm still is in motion, and a pitcher may hold 2 or 3 pitches very similar, and you don't want to guess wrong and lean into a pitch and then get hit. So I think most hitters just try to see the ball and hit it, and they don't really try to pick up things like that.
Okay. Bob, thanks for your phone call.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Chris, good luck to you.
Thank you, Bob.
We'll continue our conversation with Chris Welsh of the Cincinnati Reds after this. Chris Welsh is here with us, enjoying the All-Star break. 3 days with the family, I would imagine, right, Chris?
Yes. Unfortunately, they just don't go slow enough. It seems like we just got off that plane in Montreal, but I've had a good 3 days. I worked out yesterday. It was my day to throw on the side, and I did that yesterday. We had a workout today. We've had a workout at 10 o'clock this morning. There was also another one at 6 o'clock for the guys who went out of town. So I think the whole team is back. We're ready to go.
Yeah. When do you pitch next?
I pitch tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Versus the Phillies.
Gross.
Against Kevin Gross.
Do you have a routine tonight? I mean, is there a certain time to bed? Is there a certain meal tomorrow morning?
I have a certain meal I eat the day I pitch, and it's changed. A few years ago, I had always ate fettuccine Alfredo, and my wife became very good at cooking that, and I was 13-4 in Indianapolis because of it. And this year, I've gone with linguine and clam sauce. I always try to get a little pasta in, and it just so happened that the only time this year since I've been in Cincinnati I didn't eat linguine and clam sauce was in Montreal, and I went into an Italian restaurant, and they told me that clams are out of season, and I had to settle for fettuccine instead, and I went out and gave up 8 runs. So you can bet tomorrow I'm going to have linguine. You hear that, Debbie?
Is that the linguine with white clam sauce, I hope?
White clam sauce.
One of my favorites too. That's a good meal to have any day.
Anytime, that's right.
Not just when you pitch. Okay, Debbie, you're next on Sports Talk. Good evening.
Hi, Chris. This is Debbie from Indianapolis. How you doing, partner?
Fine, Debbie. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Just thought I'd call and let you know I'm still rooting for you.
Well, very good. I know there's a whole bunch of guys on this ball club that you're rooting for, and we sure appreciate your support.
Word gets around, huh? Well, I just thought I'd call, and aren't you glad you didn't bet me down in spring training about when you'd be called up, because you'd have lost.
That's right. I wasn't so sure when I was going to be recalled, but things turned out pretty good, Debbie, and I bet it's more fun rooting for the Reds than it is the Indianapolis Indians, isn't it?
Well, whatever team my friends are on, I root for them. The team doesn't matter. It's the person that counts.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Thanks, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Roger, it's your turn on Sports Talk. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Chris.
Yes, Roger.
Yes, I just want to ask you, what did this front office ordeal, how did that affect the team in your point of view?
You mean the controversy about the
March
selling
shot.
of shares in March shot?
Yes.
I think it affected the team absolutely none at all. There was relatively little conversation about it in the clubhouse. I know that Pete Rose emphasized that it had nothing to do with us, and Marge doesn't sign our paychecks, and we have to worry about the Phillies, we have to worry about the Dodgers, and the.
Well, it seems like after you guys got done with after that thing in the front office, you guys started winning again.
Well, I think that was probably coincidence as far as that timing was, but it wasn't coincidence on the field because we got better pitching and we got better clutch hitting, and those things fell in place. But I think the front office thing and the ball club itself, there was just no correlation between those two.
And what was your opinion about the All-Star game last night?
I thought it was a good game, but of course I'm a pitcher and I like those pitchers' battles, and it was. Of course, I'd like to see the National League win now that I'm over here in the National League.
Did you ever, Charlie Huff? He kept throwing them knuckleballs, even though the catcher couldn't catch him hardly.
He doesn't know how to throw anything else, does he? That's it. That's all he's got.
That's it, and he's got one of the best ones ever. And that
was funny.
It was tough on Rich Gedman because he was trying to catch a butterfly back there.
He sure was.
Looked like Doodles Weaver catching them balls, you know.
Well, he was trying. Here you have an all-star catcher. First time he catches a knuckleball, he can't do it. So you can imagine how tough it is for just the ordinary person off the street to try to catch a knuckleball. And, if you can't catch it, you can think how hard it is to hit it with a round bat.
I didn't hear them mention last night. Did he have a knuckleball catcher's mitt, or was it his regular catcher's mitt?
Well, it looked like a big catcher's
it
mitt,
did.
although I think probably Charlie Huff brought one along just in case he didn't have one.
Have a knuckleball?
No, I don't.
Okay, Roger, thanks for your phone call. Probably time for one more call, Doug. Can we get one more in? All right, okay. We've run out of time here. It's this has been a long time coming, getting you on the program, Chris. I promise you that we will not ignore you next spring in Tampa. We didn't mean to do that last year, but it's nice to have you finally sitting down here in your hometown and talking to Jim and old friends.
Well, it certainly is nice to be here. It's great to hear from old friends. I'm going to have to give him a call tonight. And,
don't call, just send tickets.
There you go.
Yeah. Best of luck. Stay healthy and make sure that the clams are in season so you can have your linguine with clam sauce tomorrow. And what would you settle for in the second half? 3-3 in the first half and 9 starts. What would you settle for?
I would settle for a trip to the World Series. I would even settle for staying 3-3 and getting 12 no decisions, and we win every one of those decisions with someone else being the winning pitcher and us going to the World Series. That's how much being on a winning club would mean to me. Individually, I don't think I can put a goal as far as the number of wins I need or the ERA that I want or anything like that. I just want us to win, and if we win, I know that I'll be a contributor to that. And I think that's probably the most important attitude that I can take.
Yeah, let's try it this way. You've had 9 starts to this point. How many times would you expect to start if the rotation stays the same? And I certainly would think that you're a big part of it. How many times will you start in the second half of the season?
Oh, I would say maybe 15. I think that I think Tom Browning has how many starts does he have? About 20 starts? 18.
Browning has 21.
21 starts. Well, he'll come close to maybe 37 or 38 starts, and I missed 6 months or 6 weeks of the season, so I may end up with only 28 starts. So if I can start another 15 to 18 times, that'll be plenty. And if I do that, it means that I'll be doing the job, and then if I'm doing the job, we're going to be winning some games.
I agree with you. Chris, nice to finally have you on the program.
Thanks, Bob.
Stay healthy. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Chris Welsh of the Cincinnati Reds. We'll continue Sports Talk Final Hour with you and me after the 8 o'clock news from the home of the Reds, 700 WLW in Cincinnati.